Sleep. We would survive. We would be okay. I felt safe in Sam's arms, and I'm sure he felt safe in mine. We would return to the human world and be okay. Sam kissed my forehead, feeling my exhaustion, and we tucked ourselves in, wrapping each other in our arms and escaping one last time to the darkness of slumber. Tomorrow would decide everything. The day of the siege had finally dawned. We had arrived at the Demon Lord's castle, and we were ready as we could be. Many armies bearing different banners and colors washed over the grounds before the castle, ready to rush in and lay waste to the Demon Lord and the remainder of his forces. All of us shared a common enemy, and, upon his demise, would all finally know some form of peace. Even during the roll call of the major generals, the air became full of determination and pride.
Mirth! Avarice! Nadia! Fiorna! Aradum!
Each name called became a mark on history. This was the war to bring freedom or destruction to the demon world. If the rebellion didn't win this fight, then this war would never end. If the rebellion won, then the world would have become united in a hopefully peaceful rule. The hour before the battle was set to take place, my thoughts instantly ran back to our final meeting in Lilith Castle. Diana had pulled the leaders and us together, instructing us on how exactly to proceed.
Zero, you will be joining Shadow and Sergeant in the front, taking care of the main army head-on. I expect that you will come out of it alive.
Yes, my lady.
Rabbit, Faye, you are in charge of range attacks and defense. We cannot allow any of those blasted imps getting to us from behind.
Yes, ma'am!
As Diana looked to me, I grew slightly fearful. I had to get into the Demon Lord's castle, but how exactly did Diana plan on getting me there?
You and your fiancé will take the side route straight to the castle.
Wait, huh?
We've organized our army to have our strongest on the front lines and against the tree line, giving us a side route for you to make your way straight to the castle.
If anything trickles into the side route, you'll be able to handle it. However, there is something I must ask of you.
What is it?
If you are indeed attacked, you need to defend your fiancé the entire way there. Do not let him use his energy.
Like hell she will.
When you get to the castle, I will be fighting one-on-one with the Demon Lord. If something should happen to me, then I need you to take over. She is not ready to fight him, and you need to be at full strength to finish him off.
She's been taught well. Let her prove herself when the time comes.
I stared, listening and reaffirming the order. I couldn't lie. I was nervous. However, I was determined enough to see this through. I looked over at my fiancé with a confident smile. I got this. Don't worry. Despite the worried look in his eyes, he nodded and held my hand, trusting me and my decision to agree with Diana's command. Diana rolled her shoulders and looked at the map draped over the war table between us all. Her gaze pierced into the parchment as the aura around her body pulsated in anger.
I will fly ahead and meet the Demon Lord head-on. No matter what happens, I will not allow that monster to live.
The pure determination and anger in her voice practically sent a shiver down my spine. She was set on seeing this to the end, and I was sure that she was willing to even die if it meant taking the Demon Lord with her. Shadow, however, cleared his throat.
Might I suggest a simple solution to deal with the Demon Lord?
What is it?
Shadow turned and pointed to the map, his finger pressing against a tower structure on the Demon Lord's castle.
If my scouts are correct, then that tower directly hovers over the decaying sea.
The what? Shadow turned to me with an amused grimace while Rabbit stepped towards me, hugging her staff to her body.
The decaying sea. A cursed stretch of water that has plagued this side of the demon world for thousands of years. Many demons have fallen into that water and were never seen again. It's no ordinary sea. It's an eternal death wish.
Just from the look in Rabbit's eyes, I could tell that this sea was bad news. Shadow nodded at Rabbit's description, adding more to the fright of the waters the castle was pressed against.
Any creature unfortunate enough to fall into that cursed stretch of water will be doomed to sink into an endless black void. They can never die due to the dark magic in the water, but they can never come back up. There's no saving them.
So putting the Demon Lord in there doesn't sound like the best idea if he doesn't actually die, which won't actually lift the spell on me. Curse, whatever. I became fearful just thinking about going near it. However, Diana crossed her arms and stared blankly at Shadow.
So you wish for me to drag him up to the tower and toss him over?
Precisely. It would make killing him much easier, wouldn't you think?
Diana pressed her lips together, not agreeing or disagreeing with the suggestion given to her. However, the conversation quickly turned back to the matter at hand. The remaining incubi and the wives were asked to stay behind the army and guard the main base, where Rabbit and Faye were stationed. They needed as many eyes as possible in the back of the battle, so the 4 couples were perfect to keep things in check. As they agreed, the meeting ended and the mental preparation had begun. The idea of the upcoming battle scared me, sending waves of fear and worry up and down my body in response to the thought.
Meh. Big crowd for a dickhead old man, huh?
Huh? I looked at the map on the war table, seeing multiple markers clutter in an open field in front of the Demon Lord's castle. According to Sergeant, there were hundreds of thousands of soldiers prepared to march, all ready to shed blood. I, however, looked to Sam with worry. I was frightened yet determined, worried yet pushing myself to be brave and step forward. Sensing this, Sam wrapped his hand around mine and gave it a squeeze.
Hey, whatever happens, we'll do it together, all right?
I listened to him speak before nodding and taking in a deep breath. Everything would be okay. We would be fine. I had to believe in myself and get us to the castle when the time was right. Like a beacon, our forces became the banner of hope and strength for the rebellion. At the sight of Diana, many soldiers bowed or stared in awe and aspiration. Maybe it was her presence, or maybe it was for what she stood for. But as Diana stood at the cliffside of the mountain, the air became full of energy and power. My fiancé, Rabbit, Faye, and I stood behind her as Diana stood on the ledge of the cliffside, addressing the rebellion for their final battle. Her voice echoed across the field, booming and reverberating through the air like thunder.
Milites! Et hoc liberati sturei tramcun tuis omnibus conversiris! Sto vobiscum reducitic vos ad spem! Nocte! Lavabir mur! Arcem! Hostium sanguine!
What is she saying?
She's saying that everyone's here for the same thing and we're gonna paint the walls with blood.
Really?
Well, not literally, but that should kick everyone's ass in gear.
Makes sense. I nodded as I stared at the back of Diana's head. A part of me felt a little intimidated and jealous of the power she had. She really could make armies bow to her and obey her every whim. At the same time, I knew that she was doing the right thing for this world.
Ele Dio dominati sunt nostri. Noste struet, ium mitere, profundissimum, inferni detractos.
Rabbit and Faye stepped forward and held their hands out towards the castle, focusing their energies and forcing the stone walls around it to crumble and dissolve down into the earth. Diana summoned her saber, letting it shine brilliantly as the purple taint over her skin began to twist and turn. Before my eyes, the taint on her back took shape, lifting off of Diana's skin and morphed into a set of demonic wings. I could only stare, jaw dropped, as Diana's body lifted off the ground and began to fly over the legions, slowly gliding towards the castle.
To war! To battle!
At her final command, Diana's wings pulsated in the air, flapping gracefully as she swooped down and forward. She was charging and flying for the castle walls, saber bared and ready to spill blood. As the armies below began to march forward, Rabbit took hold of my shoulder and turned me away from the castle to face her.
Come, we must hurry.
Understanding the need for urgency, I followed and rushed forward with the rest of the incubi towards the slope down the mountainside.
Everything is in order. Sergeant Diana's guard are at the front lines, while Shadow is with his legion to the west.
You got a straight line to that bastard.
We've done what we can to keep your way clear. We'll try to make sure the battle won't break through the path.
I nodded, feeling the need to rush nip at my heels, pushing me forward. My fiancé seemed to agree, gripping my hand and walking at my pace alongside me. However, as we finally arrived at the forest line, Faye and Rabbit stopped, looking back at us.
Straight through here. The sound of the war will always be on your right, so do not get lost.
You'll be fine, though. Just follow the tree line.
In sync, my fiancé and I nodded in acknowledgement before turning to see the other brothers and their wives. So, this is it.
Remember your surroundings and protect each other.
Be careful, all right? Make sure you stay safe.
Princess, brother, we'll see you in the end.
We have faith in you. You'll make it there, and we'll return to the human world soon.
We'll finish this and rush in as soon as we can, alright?
Make sure you kick some serious ass. Show that old goat what he gets for messing with you.
We'll win this. We know we can.
You can do this. We'll see you soon, okay?
I smiled, despite the nerves running through my body. I held onto my fiancé's hand and gave it a hard squeeze before receiving one back in kind. We'll finish this. Then, we'll go home. The group nodded before I slowly turned and looked into the tree line, took a breath, and rushed forward. Matching my speed, my love followed, weaving through the trees behind me to not lose sight of me. The journey was surprisingly fast going through the trees. The sound of the war crashed beside us outside the tree line, causing me to cover my ears a bit from the volume, but I shook my head and pressed forward, not wanting to become distracted. The goal was to get to the castle. I had to focus. Before I could, however, I skidded to a stop, seeing imps appear from the distance and rush towards us. As my incubus came up behind me and spotted the imps, he prepared himself to attack, but I placed my hand on his arms, stopping him. I got this. I walked forward and formed my weapon, letting it shine brightly in the darkness of the forest around us and temporarily blinding the imps ahead of us. The hilt of my sword materialized in my hand as a sharp lavender blade jutted out from the handle, glimmering brightly with my energy. I swung it around a bit, remembering the training I went through with it and steadying myself. The imps, who were blinded by the light only for a moment, looked back at me and stared as they took note of the weapon I had possessed. With a battle cry, I rushed forward, taking advantage of their blank state. Gah! Let's do this, you motherfuckers! I sprinted forward and carved my sword through an imp, cutting his neck open in my slice, before twirling around and ripping through the imp beside him, effectively cutting him down. That's right, you piece of shit. Take some of that. The imps fell as the others became shell-shocked at the sight. It must have been a big surprise to see a human cut down 2 of their number, but I wasn't in the mood to let them recover. My body quickly turned in front of another imp as I swung my weapon once again, slicing open his throat. With a bubbly cry, he fell as well as I rushed forward again towards the castle, uncaring. The remaining imps began to quake and step back in fear, most likely never expecting to see a human decimate their companions. I wasn't so friendly and merciful, especially in this war, as I lunged forward again and skewered through another imp, hearing the steel of my weapon break through his body. My incubus, despite probably being surprised at my carnage, followed as I continued forward, fighting through every imp that came in our way. I had lost count of how many crossed me, but I didn't care. All I cared about was getting to the castle. By the time we reached the end of the forest, there were a slew of dead bodies behind me. I stood at the tree line, panting and feeling waves of adrenaline and lack of energy rush through my veins. I panted for air, slowly focusing on calming down, as my energy quickly depleted from its adrenaline-filled high. The weapon in my hand quickly vanished, no longer able to maintain its form without my energy. That was all I could do before my energy was expended, and a wave of exhaustion rolled through my body. I began to fall forward, exhausted. My fiancé, however, quickly rushed forward and caught me in his arms.
Oh shit! Are you okay?
So worried. Huh? I looked up to see Sam staring down at me with a deeply concerned gaze. We were safe for the moment, so I merely smiled up at him with a nod. I'm fine. I promise to protect you, like you protect me. Sam pressed his lips together and shook his head, glaring down at me before wrapping his arms fully around me and hugging me to him.
You fucking doofus.
I can't help it, okay? This is what you do. I hugged him back, feeling relief that we had finally arrived at the castle and were about to rush inside. As we slowly pulled away, Sam lifted me up and helped me to my feet.
You gonna be okay?
I nodded, shaking off the exhaustion from my mind. I was ready to end this. I looked up at the castle gates and felt a rush of determination run through me. Let's go finish this. With that, Sam and I faced forward. The final battle had begun.